Welcome to the Indian Silicon Valley podcast. I'm your host, Jivraj, and today I have with me a very special guest. Join me in welcoming Ankit Nagori, the founder and CEO of Curefoods. Thank you so much, Ankit, for joining me. Incredibly delighted to be hosting you today.
My pleasure, Jivraj. Looking forward to the chat.
Thanks, Ankit. And I must mention that this marks the 2-year completion of the podcast. So I couldn't think of anybody else more fitting than you to commemorate this wonderful feat that I've been waiting for. But as we get started, right, I think one of the most fascinating aspects of your journey is the variety of different things you've done, right? So to give the audience more context, I guess you've been the CBO at Flipkart. You've seen the scale-up journey of India's largest new age company. Then you've disrupted fitness tech as we know it with Cure.fit, having co-founded it. And now you're disrupting food tech as we know it with Curefoods, right? If you had to give us a precursor of the variety of different things that you are curious about and the journey that you've had, I think that would be a great precursor to the overall conversation.
Right, Jivraj. Thanks for having me over. I think if you look at the variety of things that you've been, involved in, the underlying theme has been the same, to build for the new India. India, is a very, very fast-growing country. I'm not saying it only from an economic, performance indicators point of view, but in general, the population is growing, the aspirations are growing, the middle class is growing at a much faster rate than any other country in the world, and that allows for a lot of new things to be done. And if you look at Flipkart and Cure.fit and Cult and EatFit, Curefoods, all the brands that I've been associated with over the last decade or so, actually like almost 13, 14 years now, the underlying theme has been to, create new opportunities for, the Indians, create, whether it is as employees of the large companies that we've been involved in or as customers, getting them access to better quality products and better, experience. So I think the theme has always been to be able to do a large part of market creation and hence create impact using all the goodness that comes with a completely new market.
Absolutely, I can imagine. But just to double click there, right? Another underlying theme has been the 1 to 10 journey that you've seen across these brands, right? And you've spoken in the past that you really enjoy the scale up journeys at companies, right? Do you have any broad thoughts around where can companies do better when it comes to scale, especially if you found PMF? And what are some commonalities across your journeys that you have witnessed?
Right. So, Jivraj, I think, before we talk about the 1 to 10, I would talk about the 0 to 1. So 0 to 1 is a very, very important milestone for a lot of companies, but actually a lot more companies are able to do 0 to 1 than 1 to 10. And the reason behind this is that 0 to 1 is more like, more artsy than, running a business. You can do a lot of creative stuff there. If you have the prettiest looking product, you will still get your first 10,000 customers, even if it's not the most economical, either for the customer or for the company selling it, or any software, which can be, designed for 10,000 specific customers may not scale for 100,000 customers, in the SaaS world or the B2B world. So I think the 0 to 1 journey is very useful to identify people who are at least willing to create a new product in a new market. But then comes the filter. So that's the product market fit. You'll create a product and you'll find customers. But the real challenge comes in finding a business model fit. And that's where, most startups get filtered out in the 1 to 10 journey. But 1 to 10 is also a long journey, right? I would say that, Flipkart has completed the 1 to 10 now, with all these years, and Cult maybe had gotten to 5, and right now EatFit and Curefoods and maybe 2. The business model fit is a very, very important aspect because you need to first become unit economics profitable, then you need to be able to become a EBITDA profitable company, then you need to be able to take care of all your one-time costs, and then deliver a benchmark profit for the industry that you operate in. If I take food as an example, right, like brilliant companies are listed there, Jubilant, Sapphire, and whatnot, right? So, and of course, Devyani now. All of them are at a 15% benchmark EBITDA. Like sooner or later, they will get there, or they were there before pandemic. And to be able to, say that I have completed the 1 to 10 journey, we got to hit the benchmark metric for the industry we operate in. So I would say that 0 to 1 is a very interesting journey, and that's where it's like a top of the funnel for the businesses that will get created in future. A lot of good companies from 0 to 1 actually get acquired because the product would be very, very good. Just that the business model is not really sorted. So, but if the product is so good, it won't get shut down. There will be some potential taker for that. The 1 to 10 is where, I think, I believe that it requires a lot more discipline. I have been talking about it a lot, that the 1 to 10 journey is really boring. It requires you to be like really, really perseverant and like persistent. If you have it in you to just do the same thing every day, ask the same questions every day. Of course, you're innovating while you're working on it, but the pattern of questions don't change. You have to ask the questions on SLA, contribution margin, buying and sell margin. All of those become very important. So I still have to complete a full 1 to 10 journey, and I'm really hoping that Curefoods is that. And for me, 1 to 10 journey would be taking the company public and operating at the 15% EBITDA that the food companies across India operate at.
Absolutely. Love the ambition there and love the clarity of thought. I think, as you mentioned, I think generational defining companies are built in the 1 to 10 phase. And I hope all of us hope, in fact, that Curefoods is one of them. And coming to that journey, right, in your current avatar, you're disrupting food technology as we know it. The roll-up model is very new. The cloud kitchen model is very new in the country. If you had to talk us through as to what you thought when, Curefoods became a separate entity, when you charted out by yourself, taking up this leap of faith, what was that insight, right? How are you looking at the next 10 years when it comes to food in the country and beyond? I think getting that insight would be super interesting, Ankit.
Yes, Shiva. So, some numbers to start with. India does about 2.5 million online orders a day. This is across Swiggy, Zomato, Domino's website, our website, all the first party websites of the brands as well. The number at different times of peaks in different countries. In US, that peak would have been 10 to 12 million. And in China, that peak would have been 30 to 50 million. So, of course, we know that Chinese numbers are always like 10x of where we are. The internet numbers are much bigger. But I will be very conservative right now. In 5 years, will we get to 10 million orders? Possibly. If not 5 years, 10 years. But the current growth rate of the brands, even though they are like great businesses, I really think Jubilant is one of the best businesses built out of India. Even the current growth rate will not allow the current set of suppliers, which is the American QSRs, great businesses growing at maybe 10, 12, 15%, CAGR. And the Indian multi-chain or multi-outlet businesses, all the great restaurants that we go to, like we love some of those brands, right? So all of them put together will not grow more than 15, 20%. It will allow them to double or even triple the order volume, but still the last quarter, which is the current market size, would still be left if the market is growing 4x. So that's one. And the other important point is, as the market matures, people want a lot more brands. So even though, like I know that the best food we may get at a, Punjabi Rasoi, I'm just making that name up, Punjabi Rasoi or Rajasthani Thali, these outlets, but they can't scale 10x. So as internet takes over an industry, the industry becomes a lot more structured and organized. We've seen that in fashion. We've seen that in mobile phones. Xiaomi, OnePlus, all of these didn't exist a decade back, right? So that just shows that as the internet takes over an industry, it becomes more brand aware. So with that logic, at least 100% of the current market size will have to come in from new players. Now, new players can be offline first or online first. There, the thesis is very clear that, given the real estate, given the standardization, given the leverage which cloud kitchens, bring on the cost side, it is a model for future. And if 2 million new orders have to get created, 4-5 large players will come up. So maybe we are there. Behrouz is one of my favorite biryani brands. And then, Mojo Pizza from the Box 8 group is one of my, I really love the pizza. So I think all of us are building those brands. And in fact, people like Jubilant, they are also innovating on cloud kitchen first brands, So I think they have a biryani brand called Ekdam Biryani. They've done a Chinese brand called Hong's Kitchen, if I'm not wrong. So this, and then Wow Momos is now in Wow Momo Chicken on Asia. So this is the industry defining period for food and beverage in the country, where amazing entrepreneurs are building really love brands. So today I can safely say that 80% of my eating out habit, because pandemic also hastened that habit, hastened that change of habit, is now ordering in. So earlier, like of course that one outing a week still exists, but earlier you would, while you're at work, step out and have a quick dosa. That a lot of people still do. I also do that, but at least 50, 60, for me 80%, for many people 50% of those quick eating, incidents are actually replaced by just order kar dete hain. And that's where the whole brand creation will come into play. Curefoods, the insight is very clear. People eat 4 times a day, 7 times a week, 28 eating occasions. So why we are doing a cloud roller? Because EatFit cannot fit in all those 28. When we did the consumer analysis, and of course we've known EatFit habits for a while, because EatFit is part of the Cult.fit group, and we had a lot of love, customer love. We figured that there is no way we will do well on weekends. There is no way we'll do well on weekdays brunch. Weekend brunch, weekdays night. So we're missing out on 30-40% market share. So we started looking at complementary brands. We plotted out the 7 days of the week, 4 times of the day, and what do people eat. So we figured that EatFit, great lunch brand, Monday to Saturday. People will order it, and we in markets have 10% market share on Swiggy and Zomato on lunch. That lunch khana hai to EatFit se dal roti sabzi, let's order. But then we had a tough time in Friday to Sunday. It was to be a big problem for us, because people will not order EatFit. They are there to cheat. That's where we said we need to have a biryani brand, a couple of pizza brands, a really large dessert brand. And now, after 18 months of a lot of structured thinking, and not just like from outside you could see a lot of chaos, but we all our acquisitions are basically very structured as per AOV, as per eating habits. We can't just do with one biryani brand, because biryani is just a catch-all term. It's a very regional product. Calcutta biryani is very different from Amritsari, is very different from Lucknowi, very different from Hyderabadi. So right now we have a Lucknowi and Hyderabadi brand, and we may need some others. Like we're talking to a brand which sells biryani, Bengali style biryani. So we think that there is opportunity to create 10 to 12 labels and 4 to 5 brands. So brands, 4 ban gaye, tab bhi it'll be a very big thing. But I don't think we will get to more than 4-5 brands, but we'll have 10 to 12 labels, which will be very local. Brand is anything which can be sold in 5 metros across the country, and they'll have similar customer love. Why Domino's is such a great brand? Because if you pick the top 5 selling Domino's in Delhi, Bombay, not Ahmedabad is largely veg, but Delhi, Bombay, Calcutta, Chennai, there's a high likelihood that the top 5 are exactly the same. It'll be a margarita pizza, the chicken overload, etc. Right? So that's how national brands are created, where national love is there. Lifebuoy is Lifebuoy because the same soap is sold in many, many geographies, right? So that's the current thesis.
That's lovely. I think super comprehensive, and gives us an insight as to the entire brainchild behind the Curefoods story. If I may, double click on that last part as you were mentioning, right? So there is a lot of conjecture to whether or not the same tasting brand should exist in the north, east, south, west, right? And that is where you've spoken a lot about, creating these regional, local labels as well, which has been very interesting. Unlike some other players who are trying to go for standardization across the board, right? So if you can give us a flavor as to, why this difference exists and how is it playing out in terms of data, right? Are people actually adoring the fact that, okay, I want to have the same biryani in Calcutta and Bangalore? Or is it, more like, okay, I want to have regional stuff in these cities, right? I would love to know that, Ankit.
Right, so Jivraj, there are 2 aspects. One is a national brand, and second is a national cuisine. I can tell you categories which are not meant to be national. Biryani, it's very, very tough to build a large national brand because of the various changes in the flavor. Like it's always like a lot of my chef team members say that biryani taste changes every 200 kilometers. And we've done that. We go 200 kilometers outside of biryani. The Dunne style biryani from here changes to a Nati style biryani. Right? So that's how it happens. So I think there are cuisines which can definitely be national. So we'll first talk about cuisine and then come to brands. Okay. So I think a lot of snacks, the Indian snacks, samosa, poha, they have some regional nuances, but a large national brand can be created. The challenge there is the AOV. Right. You can't have a really large samosa brands. Samosa Singh and Samosa Party are really good products, by the way. And now they're adding chaat and it's becoming a comprehensive business. And I believe, they're building a good business. As a customer, I'm very happy at least eating their product. So that's a very national product. The other example of a regional product which cannot scale really well is any thali brand. So if you look at Rajdhani, it's a North Indian thali brand which also sells a little bit in South India, but it's the product is very, very North Indian. So people will not go there for a daily eating. It is a specialty food. That aaj humko Rajasthani khana khana hai. So thalis or meals are very local. If you go to I don't know if you've been to Bangalore's, Meghna Biryani. Sorry, what's that? Nagarjuna. Like, it's a meals place. So people go there for Telugu thalis. But if you go to Haldiram, the thali's definition is very, very different, right? So the Indian cuisine is a very, difficult. Indian specialty cuisine is a very difficult, category to build brand on. But you can build a brand, national brand, in cuisines which are more cross-cutting, like desserts, which is why desserts, ice creams, they have so many brands. I think so many new age brands have come in. NIC ice creams, Naturals, of course. Gyani's, which was in Delhi, now is scaled to so many cities. So ice cream is very, very cross-cutting, similar flavors. So that's one nuance. So we have to pick categories which can go national. We have picked two categories there. One, cake zone, cake, where our national brand is Cake Zone. Like Domino's, the top 5 SKUs are same everywhere. Chocolate truffle, red velvet, black forest, so those 3 are the top 3. You go to a tier 2 city in North India or a tier 4 city in East India, you'll have these 3 in the top 5 every time. So that's one. The second category which we have, going with national is better for you. So what we do with Eat-Fit. So Eat-Fit also has changed through the pandemic. Earlier, it was a strict health brand. We realized that the TAM was much smaller. So now we are a better for you product. So we do a lot of baked stuff. So we'll do baked paratha, baked samosa, we'll do whole wheat pasta, whole wheat noodles. So all the popular items which people eat across the country, we just look at the top 10 SKUs in every city and we just make it baked, no oil, no sugar, jaggery first, stuff like that. So people eat it when they still want to indulge, but they don't want to, eat like fully oily food. The other category of Eat-Fit continues to be a very large category for us, which is salads and all the original Eat-Fit construct. So these are, and salads also, whosoever wants to eat healthy will have a same taste across the country.
Correct.
The brands which we know, the categories which we know we can't take national, biryani. We have got 2 brands, we'll do more. The other category where we don't think we're building a national brand yet is pizza. There, the reason is that we figured that the open space actually lies in craft pizza, wood-fired or sourdough or something on those lines. Because Domino's plus Pizza Hut plus Oven Story plus Mojo, it's already a very crowded place and all of those are very big brands now. So we figured that the real space lies in gourmet pizza. And one opportunity could have been to go and build out a brand, which would have been a 3 to 6 to 12 months, 0 to 1, and then 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. Or we looked at regional heroes. And that's a big strategy for us, Yuvraj, where we actually go and pick the top pizza brand in respective cities. Juno's Pizza in Bombay, Oven Fresh Pizza in Chennai, Nomad Pizza in NCR, and Olio in Hyderabad. Now, these 4 serve very similar products. They already were very popular in their respective cities. We are not looking to take them national right now, but they will expand in their own geographies. So, Nomad is now in Jaipur and Chandigarh. Juno's will go to Ahmedabad, Surat, and Pune from Bombay. Olio will go to Chennai. So we are looking at slowly expanding to other geographies. One open question is there, which we don't know the answer to, is whether we will rename all of them to a single brand someday. Maybe, maybe not. Right now it's working. The local hero, the idea of, make people feeling that they're ordering from a craft place or a cute little, cafeteria, which is serving really, good food. Because I think there are at least a small yet significant chunk of people who don't like to order from large corporations, right? Like they would say that, and the moment they'll get to know कि अरे उसके 10 outlet हो गए, then they will say कि नहीं, it's got, like, perception is that 10 outlets means the food has gone to dogs. So for pizza, given that the insight is that people are looking to really move up the ladder and order like a $10 pizza, like 750 rupees pizza was a difficult thing to order earlier. Now, across these 4-5 brands, we're selling over 5,000 pizzas, at that price point a day. So that's the thesis. And extending the logic on local heroes, the 2 or 3 national brands that we create, we will do a lot of media. We will do TV ads, print ads, a lot of social media, celebrities. But local heroes should have their own strength. When we acquired them, they already were 3 outlets, 4 outlets, at least 10,000 people in a city who are absolute crazy about that brand. And they continue to do well because we just slowly expand that. We don't take it to, like, we don't do a 10 to 100 in like 1 year. We do 10, 15, 20, 25, so that the entrepreneurs can retain the control on the product. And the customer also should not feel that we a large corporation has gone to dogs. So local heroes is the labels I was talking about, the 10 to 12 labels that we have. And the national brand is definitely Eat-Fit, Cake Zone, and maybe one more, which I think will be the pizza brand. That's what the internal debate right now is happening, that, if we retain the love of the customers, even a large national brand, we should do it. So that could be the third brand we're working on. The other big brands that we have, which, can qualify to become national brand, is a brand called Frozen Bottle. It's a milkshake brand. Again, the top four there is a chocolate, strawberry, So that right now is a South and West brand. I think the moment it goes to North, you can call it a national brand. And lastly, one of our largest biryani brand is Sharif Bhai. We have taken a very, very conscious call to keep it South only. Yeah.
Got it. No, I love the nuance there. Thanks for going into a lot of depth. I think it clarifies for any F&B builder how to, strategize some of these things, especially if they're looking beyond their local geographies. And even if they are looking at local geographies, how can they expand it? So I think that was a complete masterclass on that aspect. But it's interesting, right? You were talking about these expansion strategies, and I'm sure a lot of founders debate this in their head as to how to manage between depth and breadth, right? There can be a lot of things around, okay, we should scale and, dominate each category right away, and then maybe look at the depth of geographies there, or we can look at expanding, or restrict ourselves to a couple of geographies, right? So if you had to maybe, comment on how you look at breadth versus depth, how you look at geographical expansion, what are some of the design principles that internally take place or that founders can refer to when looking at their respective expansions? I think that would be really very, very interesting, and I think goes unheard because as a consumer, we're just consuming these products, right? We don't know what happens in the background.
Yes. So Jivraj, I think my first instinct to the question is that, depth is the answer. So breadth is not something which is a choice. It's an outcome. The choice is always depth, where, you actually say that I go build something and I build it until, it gets to 0 to 5 or 0 to 4, and 0 to 4 or 5 is operational profitability and everything else there. So I think for most founders, that should be the mantra, and that's what we do at Curefoods as well. The unit for us, the unit measurement is not brand level profitability, but a kitchen level profitability, because all of these brands come out of one kitchen. So we don't expand to a new city until the kitchen EBITDA of those cities are as per design. So while it may look from outside that, we run 10, 12 brands / labels, we run a 15 city business, but the discipline there is on depth of kitchens in every city. Bangalore has 22 kitchens and NCR has 18 and Bombay has 20. But we would first, now the second wave of expansion will be when these cities get to 30, 35, 40 each, and then only we go to Kolkata, Guwahati, and East India. So I think this, if I also look at all the other work that we've done in the past or I have done in the past, there could be times where we have spread ourselves too thin on doing too many things together, too many brands together, too many categories together. Each time when we have done a postmortem or analysis on what went wrong, the answer has been too many initiatives, too thinly staffed teams on those, too much proliferation of projects in the team, mid-level to junior people running important projects as a result of that. Not saying that they can't do a great job, but then of course you need to be able to give a right oversight at least on those projects. So once you start, proving your thesis in the core business area, core product area, then you can start thinking of, larger expansion, whether it's new. So if it's a horizontal e-tailer, then adding more categories. If it's a player like us, roll-up commerce player like us, then it could be, adding more brands. If it's a single brand, like a beauty brand, then adding more categories, start with makeup, then this and that. So I think all of this would work only if the main product that you were working on was profitable. And one last point on this, Yuvraj, is that a lot of times the 0 to 1 product is not in most cases, the 0 to 1 product is not the scale product. And the mistake, which a lot of us have done or continue to do, is that we make the 0 to 1 product, which is a cute product or a customer engagement product, as a burn machine. So if you can, build a product which is really good, something which has a lot of customer love, then at least have it at break even and use that platform to identify the next 10x growth. But I think because at the beginning of the conversation, I spoke about 0 to 1 and how a lot of creative thinkers, are doing well there. So because of a result of that, the product categories which are chosen are always chosen in a niche, because we need to get the first 1,000 customers, and it can't be, by building our next Flipkart. It can be, by building a small marketplace for comics only, right? Yeah. But that won't take you to 1 to 10.
Super. I know. I think that's super interesting, especially because I think a lot of discipline, focus, and intellectual honesty is what I am observing on that front. But lovely to know how, young brands can also keep that discipline alive. I think the other aspect, Ankit, here is the supply chain, right? Another one of those things that maybe gets missed as a customer because we are seeing the end outcome. But to get in alignment amongst all of these kitchens, have supply chain efficiency, operational brilliance there must be a difficult challenge in and of itself, right? Also, the second part to that is the fact that since you're acquiring some of these brands, the integration between some of these kitchens might be more difficult as well, right? Because if we take a traditional cloud kitchen multi-brand approach, they're probably building it from the same kitchen and expanding on top of it. So there's no inorganic infusion. But in terms of acquisitions, that must be happening. Any thoughts around how you manage supply chain operational brilliance?
So, Yuvraj, 2 questions there. One is operations and second is integration. So, one of our largest teams is the integration team. So I think the best talent in the company, is working on that project, because we have designed a kitchen keeping in mind that at least 25% new brands will come into those kitchens every year. Either because we churned out the old brands and we need a new brand, or even if in a non-obvious case of all brands firing every year, we will still acquire 1 or 2 brands. So kitchens are not designed for brands. I think I've seen some multi-brand kitchens in India and abroad, been doing some research, and I figured, and again, it's completely my point of view, I'm not here to, profess anything, but I feel that a lot of people have taken an approach of making it like a co-working space where every brand has been allocated a station. Right. And that makes the process extremely non-scalable. And here I'm giving out a trade secret that the way we have done it is we have defined lines. It's an Indian cuisine line, it's a pizza cuisine line, it's a dessert cuisine line, and all of that. And that allows us to add any brand in that line. The product, the business model is simple. That same set of people will cook all the brands that are in the kitchen. So when I say same set, I'm not saying that the pizza guy will do that also. I really hope to get there one day. We still have 50%, unique skill set. But an Indian guy will cook all Indian brands, whether it's a Eat-Fit or a Home Plate or a Great Eatery. Likewise, we're getting there where a pizza guy can operate a brick oven or electric oven and like just a microwave, like a very basic OTG, because we have different kinds of products. So that's the way we integrate it. We are even evolving in a way where all our kitchens are very future-proof, that we should be able to add a Chinese brand. We really want to do that. We suffer there. We don't have a Chinese brand. We want to do ice creams of 2-3 different categories. Should also be able to do that. Ready to do Sunday. Like the chopping board kind of Sunday. That should also be possible. So we are just defining the kitchen in that way. Now coming to the operations, right? So yes, I think the multi-kitchen operations alongside multi-channel sales. So we sell on Swiggy, Zomato, and our own brand websites. Each brand has a website.
Right.
20% revenue of the group comes from the brand websites. And so brand website requires you to have your own logistics teams also. And we also have a hub and spoke model for our cooking. 50% cooking gets done in the central kitchen, gets transported by road to all our kitchens every day, in some cases twice a day. So that hub and spoke model is, of course, a known model. Most companies, whether even e-commerce companies, do that for their deliveries. So that is a known evil, just that it requires a lot of work. And I think that's a big moat. Tomorrow, if I have to see, of course, the scaled up companies are doing it well, but tomorrow, even like the best chef in India, if he wants to design a multi-brand kitchen, the ability to design that hub and spoke at scale requires you to have a lot of logistics skills. I am also not an expert of. I have a team which has built logistics in the country for the last 10 years across different categories. And I think that's one area where India is miles ahead of most countries except US and China. Like if you go to any other country and look at how the last mile or anything, it's amazing how so many companies have come up. Delivery, legendary company listed now, Ecom Express, and even the traditional companies which were earlier mostly documents, kind of couriers and documents and packages, are now doing so well on e-commerce deliveries, right? So TTDC and Blue Darts, everyone. So I think that's one area which is, I would take, I would let Flipkart take the credit that they set the ecosystem in shape and they're doing so well. So logistics is one thing which is a tough problem but sorted. The tougher problem is just the kitchen management part. Like managing 4 lines. So the structure is still evolving, and that is another mode. So if you look at any large 5-star hotel kitchen, it's actually a multi-brand, multi-cuisine kitchen, right? At least the base kitchen. But they're not as technology. So they are very high on hardware automation, but still not on software automation. So our kitchen works exactly how a warehouse in Flipkart would work, where if an order comes, people would know exactly where the packet is, or they'll get a pick list, they'll know exactly where the packet is. Then there's a pack list and there's a dispatch list. So if an order comes, we know that, okay, it's an order for a fruit pop oatmeal bowl, one of our largest selling products. So we know that the oatmeal base is in the fridge. You know that you have to chop because it'll all be part of a tech-assisted cooking. You need to chop the fruits and put it in a container. And then you have to add the almonds and raisins, the topping. Then you have to pack it and then put it in the right brand packet. Because 10 brands are shipped from one kitchen. So you also need to pick the right brand packet. You can't be sending out Flipkart oatmeal bowl in a Nomad pizza packet. It has to go in the Eat Fit packet. So that all is tech driven, but it's a big moat, but a really complex problem. I think this is where all our future growth lies. This is where all our future sustenance lies. And if we are able to really crack this model well, right now we are 150 kitchens. If we are able to scale this to 500 kitchens, it will be a huge win for us. 500 kitchens is actually a 500 million revenue business that we can build.
Yeah. No, I think for sure this is very, very tactical and very, very helpful in my opinion. And as you said, right, you're a lot of foresight there as to what 5 years down the line the brand will look like. And building for that is, I think, one of the best takeaways for any young builder as well, right? You have to know where you're headed and prepare for it from now itself. This has been fantastic. I think we've covered a lot of different aspects to the business. I want to take another gear to the conversation and understand how maybe, teams internally are structured, because at the forefront, this looks like a design problem where a lot of horizontal things exist, while there are also vertical problem statements, right? So different brands, different teams and stuff like that. If you can give us a precursor to how do you manage this within the organization, right? What is the organizational design that facilitates something like this? I think that will be very interesting to hear, Ankit.
Right. So I think we've got a few horizontals and a few verticals. So technology and technology product and design is one. Brand marketing is a horizontal which cuts across all brands. Business, finance, accounting, finance, and HR. These are 4 very clear horizontals, which cuts across all brands and all entities, because there are entities which there are brands which still run as entities where the company itself is still not, part of the company. We own the company, but it's running as a separate company. So these are across all the four. The food product is very fragmented, and rightly so. Right now, we think it's the best design. All the entrepreneurs whom we work with, whom we acquired, they continue to be their own food design experts, because we acquired them for the fact that they were food design experts. The product was so good. So that is actually fairly fragmented. I spent some time there. We have a large R&D team, who holds it together. So that's one area which is fairly fragmented. There is a lot of lack of structure by design, because that's the creative work. If we templatize it, then it's gone. The other horizontal is the central kitchen, which does most of the pre-work for all brands. So that's the part of the integration. Most brands, when we acquire or partner with, they come with their own central kitchen. Over time, we want to shut down their central kitchen and integrate to ours, because we run 4 large central kitchens across different parts of the country. The cloud kitchens is again, one team which runs this cloud kitchens, but they are multi-brand. The brands which work with us, they don't have to do much in the cloud kitchen, because their job stops at the designing of the product. In some rare cases, which is a complex product, we do handholding till much later, like biryani and craft pizza, 2 categories where we, do handholding till much later, etc. And then growth and digital marketing is one team, which is 70-80% integrated, 20-30% more integrated, because again, there could be some entrepreneur, some brand partner who has a strong point of view on how digital marketing or communication should be run. So the food design is the most fragmented. Everything else is getting towards more structure.
Got it. No, I got that fragmented by design sort of a line, which is very important to see, right? I think for other companies, parallels will exist in their innovation wing, which is doing, product innovation.
And for brand agencies, brand marketing agencies, all the creative thinking is now, like almost like gig economy. They put out a problem statement to 100 copywriters, and then they choose the best. So it's almost
exactly.
Like,
Love that. I think those are super cues. But I think the second aspect to team is, while we understand the org design, across places you've seen, scale teams and leaders do really well with Flipkart, Cure.fit, and now with Curefoods. Any cues in terms of what founders can do best to ensure a generational company, right? Like, how do you ensure attrition rates are low? How do you ensure culture is on point, right? I'm talking very horizontal here, very broad surface level, but your learnings in terms of culture will be super crucial to gather. So anything for future founders who are building, these companies from maybe like a 0.5 to the next set would be really helpful, Ankit.
Right. So Jivraj, culture is a very, hard-coded thing. While it's a very soft aspect, but what you want your organization to look like is actually defined in the first 2-3 years of the company. And there you need to really keep iterating the pieces, almost like a propaganda, that what you're trying to build. Because if you're trying to build a Toyota, then you will not become a Maruti. Both are great organizations, but each of them have their own culture. So at least knowing that you're building Toyota or a Maruti or a Chrysler, you should know what you're trying to build.
Absolutely.
Having said that, the toolkit to deploy culture is values. So value system of the company is why I'm saying it's hard coded, because it's actually defined. Every company puts out a vision, value. So for us, we have a purpose. We have a purpose statement which says that, we exist to make honest food that customers love. We're not saying healthy food, we're saying honest food. If it has 20 grams of sugar, it's not advisable, but we should call it out. We should not say that thoda sugar hai, kam sugar hai, stuff like that. So, and we try to minimize chemicals wherever. So that's the later part of But purpose is very clear. We are trying to build better food, and food which is, and why we say customer love, because पहले बहुत बार ये conversations हुआ है that if the food is better, people don't like it. so you have to spend extra time to make a jaggery gulab jamun, a baked jaggery gulab jamun, loved by customers. So पहले iteration में तो you'll get a 1 on 5 rating, and the last iteration will be 4.5 on 5. Still never will be 5 on 5, but our aim is to make better food 4.5 on 5. So that's the reason we exist. And the culture is defined by the three core values that we have. We have love for food as value. People who are working in this company should be crazy about food. I am, and all my team members are, because we cannot serve or sell food unless we are mad about food. Of course, to balance out the aspect, we're also a very sporty organization. We play a lot of sports, but that's not defined as values, but that's an underlying theme in the company. And you start attracting similar people because we do like 3 times a food tasting. So we may as well, need to burn those calories as well. So love for food. Second is act like an owner. We run 150 facilities, Yuvraj, and 4 warehouses, and thousands of vehicles are moving our food every day in the country, whether B2B or whether kitchen to kitchen or kitchen to customer. If people are not able to take decisions or are not acting like full owners, there will be a lot of chaos, because there will be times, when a person feels that food has gone bad, and still they have to take a call on either side of the call, right? Whether to serve it or not. When there is a delay happening, should I ship out 4 pizzas versus 6? 6 orders hai, 4 pizzas. I would take that call of shipping out 4 and sending a second boy with the remaining 2. But that's again not a very obvious call, because you can't codify all edge cases. 6 ke liye humne rule bana diya, fir 7 ke liye kya hoga? So you have to take calls. So ownership is very important in a highly distributed model. Starbucks has done that really well. I think the store managers are the end owners. We have not been able to achieve that, but we will get there eventually for sure. And the last one is do more with less. Super important. We are a very frugal organization. We are borderline, almost, sometimes I feel that, team overdoes it and we become penny wise, pound foolish kind of thing. But I think I'm okay to err on that side, because margins are super tough to come by. It's been the toughest, period for, any food company the last 1 year. Inflation has been skyrocketing. Fuel costs, delivery costs, like every line item of inflation hits us, whether it's commodity, food, or oil. So, and dollar, all the AWS and everything, like everything just hits us. So we have to be very frugal. So this is what defines us. But also a good culture, Jivraj, does not really mean that attrition will be low. In fact, maybe it will be an unpopular opinion, but there should be high attrition if you believe what you're building is out there. See, one is that there could be a flaw, what I expect to build versus what's out there. Then there is introspection required by the management team and correction required. But if you largely feel that the fabric of the organization is closer to what you're trying to build and still there's attrition, then those are misfits on either side. It could be like, really, I'm not saying that the error lies with the employee. The error is with us probably, because we are a frugal organization. So maybe we don't have like foosball tables and TD tables in our office. It's a small example. And maybe that is the expectation of, maybe that's table stakes for all engineering candidates now. So this misfit which cannot be discovered even with a 7-8 hour process where it's a 1 hour, 5 people meet 1 hour, and then one round of just knowing each other. All the creative interviewing process will not give you. So early attrition is good. I would be worried only if my best performing already fit people, so already people who fit into the company, I mean, 18 to 36 month period, I also feel that's the highest productivity period. If that's the time when people start leaving, it's either because they're so good that they're getting a 40% paycheck. So then we have not sold the ESOP story well. That's a challenge. There are people who buy the ESOP story and they don't, but it's a real story. People have made millions of dollars. Hundreds of thousands of people have made millions of dollars now, through ESOP. So that's one very important job of a founder who's confident about the ESOP story. Their conviction should be there. But if it's for 10%, 20% jump to a smaller company, or jump for a title change, yahan pe main AVP hu, wahan pe VP ban jaunga, then these are motivations which are not getting subdued by the culture that you've built and the growth you're showing to the employee. And that's what worries me. There are cases, market last year was crazy. It was unbelievable what's happening. People were getting 50% jump straight because they were companies which were new, hyper-funded, looking to build business in 0 to 1 in like 3 months. But that's changed. And Engineering salaries are much saner level now, thankfully. So
Right.
I feel that, if you know your toolkit, which is purpose plus values, then half the job is done. Then it's all about deployment and creating rituals around that. For love for food, we may have a ritual that, we do a food walk often. We just say ki 7 a.m. we'll start in one part of Bangalore and try 5 different dosas. That's an example. Then, yeah, so for Act Like an Owner, we have a lot of spot awards on examples where customers write that this happened and we immediately reward the team member on the floor. And do more with less, so matlab, that exists. The value in the company, like ROI is the most used word in the company. Whether it is, 2 gram घी ऐड कर देते हैं खाने में, तो पूछेंगे उससे क्या होगा? Ratings improve होंगी. Then what? Will our retention improve? And if retention improves, marketing goes down, cost goes down. So everything is linked to ROI.
Awesome. No, I think that's brilliant. I'm hearing two things. The latter part is especially so useful, right? Values are only as good as the manifestation and the practice of it. So valuing those values is like very, very important, and that's lovely.
Yeah, otherwise, it just becomes a decoration on the wall.
Something on the wall, yeah, exactly. So I think echoing that is so important, and knowing the kind of organization you're building and the different perspective on attrition. I think all of those things are very good food for thought, right? But this is lovely. I think I have absolutely loved how tactical you've been throughout this conversation, and I think it gives us a very ringside view of your thought process. As we bring this to a close, right, I have a similar set of questions that I ask most founders. This is more personal in nature, and we'll close with that. But the first part there is, you have a philanthropic side to you, and you are a sports freak from my research. If you can talk to us about, what the purpose of your life in terms of entrepreneurship, as well as the way you look at life as an individual is as well, and how does sport, and simply sport, if I'm not wrong, fit into that perspective. I think it's a great echoing factor, and a lot of people should know about it, at least those listening to this. So would love to know more about that, Ankit.
Right, Jivraj. So I think the purpose, over time one discovers the purpose, and it's easier when you have some success under the belt, because then you can start working on non-profitable ventures as well. So purpose, which I discovered a while back, maybe much earlier also, but now I could manifest it in this way, is to create impact, to be able to enable people to lead better lives. And the other unfulfilled aspect of my life was sports, where like most people, you end up in the more conventional approach of studying and getting into engineering schools, etc. I think, the whole purpose of or identifying purpose on what you want to do at a larger level happens over time. And if you have some success under the belt, and you know that profits or profitability is not the only reason why you exist, and you should also have some other approaches as well to life, then it's a great discovery. For me, it happened a while back, and I figured that being able to create impact to enable people to live better lives is something which I really, really resonate with. And the other area which I really resonate with is because of the unfulfilled desire to be a sports person at a national. Of course, I've played at different levels, but representing the country or representing your state at the highest level is something which is very important. So many of the ex-athletes are not able to find the best livelihoods, purely because there are no opportunities. If imagine a 31-year-old athlete whose career has ended because he's 31. Sports careers end at that age in many sports. Right. And now you have to restart your entire thing at the age of 31, 32, and you don't have any hard skills to become a sales head of a company. While you have all the soft skills, you are disciplined, you're hardworking, you train well, you can motivate people, but you don't have the hard skills. Yeah. So this is an unfortunate thing I discovered. So with Simply Sport, we are trying to do a couple of things. One, we are trying to enable grassroots sports, basically using sports as a way to uplift the morale of the people, of the young kids. Basically, give them a platform, give them a voice, give them some self-esteem that, okay, I play football really well. I can run 100 meters in 13 seconds. So all of these are some softer aspects which, people love, and they are able to, really benefit in their lives. Of course, a small portion of that we use as a scouting program, and then put them through a more detailed or more oriented program. The other side of the Simply Sport Foundation is people who have already been athletes. We are trying to give them a platform to find jobs for them, train them, coach them, So that's the other program that we run. And we do this through a lot of partnerships. We are almost like a scouting program for NGOs and not only sports. So we identify sports NGOs because we don't have a large team. We have a 6-7 member team, and we don't want to build an on-ground team right now for scouting and support. So there are a lot of great motivated individuals, most of them corporate honchos, gave up their jobs running ecosystems like these in Hyderabad, Kolkata, Coorg. Unbelievable, what people are doing, to support their communities. And sports is a very common theme. So we are working with a lot of them. We support through technology. Money is the easiest, to be honest, but technology, money, nutrition support, mental wellness, menstruation support. A lot of young girls, who play sport, they start dropping out, when they hit puberty, menstruation, and over the 3-4 years they drop out because it's just so difficult to manage during a period. So we're now running an awareness program. We've done coaching for thousands of coaches, not only athletes but actually coaches, because coaches really need to be told how to deal with menstruating athlete. So we're working on all of these programs. It's something which is extremely close to my heart. I'm able to spend a few hours a week, but been lucky enough to build a strong team there of ex-athletes and really motivated people.
Got it. No, that's wonderful. I think that's such an important and crucial aspect of giving back to society. And, just if some people have been lucky enough and, have hard worked their way through life, can you give back to other folks who's also? So I think that speaks a lot to your persona as well. So great to hear that, Ankit. I think for the last question, right, and this has been a very, very fantastic conversation. I would love to just know on a personal side as to how you have evolved, because we've of course seen the scale at which a Flipkart is at, a Cure.fit is at, and I'm sure Curefoods will beat all of those hopefully someday. How do you look at your own personal evolution through the last 12-15 years of building organizations, and what is it that keeps you going to date? I think that would be a lovely thing to hear and bring this to a great close, Ankit.
Right. I think just to make one point, that I actually believe that Curefoods cannot beat Flipkart purely because the way Flipkart has been built, or the time at which it was built, it was a unique company. The first, it was always it's always been the largest startup in the country.
Absolutely.
From 2009 till even today is the largest startup, and the sheer size and the volume is just a mammoth. And
it's a behemoth. Yeah.
My real aspiration is to build Curefoods as a listed company. That will be the first. So, you're not so restless about getting success, getting some money in bank. Then you are saying that, okay, now I'm sorted on this part. How do I think for the next 10 years? And right now, my approach is truly that. Right now, I'm able to take bets for 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. Hopefully, they play out the way I'm planning. But I think I am more rooted in the current reality, but also very clear about what the next 10 years look like. I feel that, had I had this approach 5 years back or 10 years back, I would have been a better resource for Flipkart or Cult, because you end up taking a lot of decisions which are very short term purely because of your own personal hurry. And that's where a lot of it happens in sports, it happens in companies, it happens in personal life, that you need to pace yourself as per the situation's requirement, but we end up pacing ourselves as per our personal aspirations. And that's, I think, been the big learning, that I think I'm able to pace myself better now. So that's the big change I would say I have.
Lovely. Awesome. Long-term thinking and Curefoods as a listed company in the future. And that's a lovely way to end the conversation. Thank you so much, Ankit, for being on the show. I have certainly enjoyed each bit of the conversation, especially because of how tactical we were, how practical we were, and how it has progressed. Thank you so much for being on. I hope you enjoyed it as well.
It was a great experience, Yuvraj. Thank you so much for having me.